The massive chambers of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 200 different worlds filled the floating seats that surrounded the central platform. Their voices created a noise that the translation systems could barely handle. Fear and anger mixed together in the air like a dangerous storm. Ambassador Zexthara stood at the center podium, his blue skin darker than usual with stress. The Vraxian had lived for 300 years and had never faced a crisis like this. His forearms moved as he spoke, trying to calm the crowd. Fellow representatives, his voice boomed through the speakers. We face something new. Something that has never happened in our recorded history. The noise died down. Every eye, sensor, and detection organ in the room focused on him. The humans have refused our ultimatum. A wave of shocked whispers spread through the chamber. The insect-like Zephyrians clicked their mandibles in confusion. The crystalline architects sent flashes of light between their bodies. The floating gas beings of Nebula Prime swirled in tight, worried circles. "This is impossible," called out Councillor Vex from the Korthak Empire. His warrior species had fought the Council for 50 years before finally agreeing to peace talks. No one refuses the Council. No one can afford to refuse. Zexthara's main hands touched the control panel in front of him. A holographic display showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked human territories in the outer rim, 17 small systems, barely visible against the vast blue areas that belonged to Council members. 2 standard months ago, we issued our standard territorial dispute resolution. The humans were expanding too fast into unclaimed space. They were not following proper procedures. They ignored our mining rights agreements. We gave them the choice: follow galactic law or face consequences. The display zoomed in on the human systems. Small planets, modest space stations, simple-looking ships moving between them. The deadline passed yesterday at 14:30 Galactic Standard Time. We expected their representative to request an extension. Or perhaps ask for modified terms. Maybe even surrender completely. Zexthara paused, his secondary arms clenched into fists. Instead, we received a single-word response. No. The chamber erupted again. This time, the noise was pure disbelief. Several species had never heard the word no, used in response to a council ultimatum. "Where is their ambassador?" demanded Prime Citizen Holrick of the Trade Federation. "Why is she not here explaining this madness?" "She is here," Zexthara replied quietly. All eyes turned to a small section near the back of the chamber. There, in a seat designed for much larger beings, sat a human woman. She looked tiny compared to the representatives around her. Her dark hair was pulled back simply. She wore a plain black suit that looked cheap next to the elaborate robes and technological armor of other delegates. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat perfectly still. Her hands rested calmly in her lap. Her face showed no expression at all. She looked like someone waiting for a bus, not someone facing the anger of 200 alien civilizations. "Ambassador Chen," Zexthara called out. "Will you explain your people's position?" The human woman stood slowly. She walked down the long ramp to the center platform. Her steps echoed in the sudden silence. When she reached the podium, she looked up at the hundreds of beings staring down at her. "My government's position is clear," she said in perfect galactic standard. Her voice was calm and steady. "We have nothing to negotiate." The explosion of angry voices was immediate. Representatives jumped to their feet. Some species made threatening gestures with claws or weapons. Others flashed warning colors or emitted sonic bursts of rage. "Silence," Zexthara's voice cut through the noise. "Let her speak." Sarah Chen waited for quiet. Then she continued as if nothing had happened. "You claim we are expanding illegally. But the territories we have settled were empty. No one lived there. No one had claimed them. We followed standard galactic law for unclaimed territory. You ignored mineral rights protocols," shouted the representative from the mining guild. "We extracted no minerals," Chen replied simply. "We built homes. We grew food. We made these places livable. Your ships violated shipping lanes," called out a Trade Federation delegate. "Our ships use the same hyperspace routes available to all council members. We have never blocked or interfered with any other vessel. You refuse to submit to territorial inspections. This from a peacekeeping force commander. Would you submit to inspections of your homeworld by strangers? Chen asked. Would any of you? The chamber fell quiet. Several representatives looked uncomfortable. The idea of allowing foreign inspectors into their private space was clearly disturbing. Councillor Vex stood up slowly. His massive form cast a shadow over Chen. Human. You speak as if your people have a choice in this matter. The council has spoken. The deadline has passed. You will comply, or you will face the consequences. Sarah Chen looked up at the warrior. Despite being a tenth of his size, she showed no fear at all. Councillor Vex, she said politely. Your own people fought the council for 50 years. You lost millions of lives before you agreed to peace talks. Are you suggesting we should surrender without even trying to defend ourselves? That was different, Vex growled. We were strong, we had allies, we controlled a quarter of the galaxy. And we, Chen said quietly, control 17 small systems that most of you couldn't find on a map without help. The truth of her words hit the chamber like a cold wind. Humanity was tiny. Their technology seemed basic. Their military was small. They had no powerful allies. By every reasonable measure, they should be begging for mercy. Instead, their ambassador stood there looking completely calm. Perhaps, suggested High Analyst Queth of the Logical Union, the humans simply do not understand the seriousness of their situation. Their species is young. They may need education about galactic realities. Chen turned to face the floating brain creature. We understand perfectly, High Analyst. The Council wants us to abandon our legal territorial claims, submit to foreign authority, and accept whatever terms you decide to give us. Exactly, Queth's electronic voice hummed with satisfaction. Now you see reason. No, Chen said. Now you see why our answer will always be no. The silence that followed was different from before. This was not confusion or disbelief. This was the beginning of real fear. Zex Thara cleared his throat. Ambassador Chen, I must inform you that the Council has authorized me to give you one final opportunity. You have 72 standard hours to reconsider your position. If you do not, we will be forced to take corrective action. Sarah Chen nodded politely. I understand. Ambassador Zex Thara. I will relay your message to my government. She turned and walked back up the ramp to her seat. Every being in the chamber watched her go. When she sat down, she returned to her previous position. Hands in lap. Face calm. Waiting patiently. The emergency session continued for 6 more hours. Plans were made. Threats were discussed. Military options were reviewed. Through it all, the human ambassador sat quietly in her chair, looking for all the world like she didn't have a care in the universe. The war room beneath the Galactic Council building buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed star charts, ship movements, and tactical analyses. Supreme Admiral Keth Mori stood in the center of it all, his 6 eyes studying the data streams flowing around him. The Admiral was a Nexan, a species that had evolved from pack hunters on a world of endless plains. His people were natural strategists, bred for warfare across 1,000,000 years of evolution. He had never lost a battle in his 200-year career. Show me the human territories again, he ordered. The main display shifted to focus on the outer rim. 17 red dots appeared, scattered across a region that most council members considered worthless. Rocky planets, asteroid fields, and empty space with little strategic value. Total population? Keth Mori asked. Approximately 4 billion across all systems, replied his aide, Commander Zilnara. Mostly concentrated on 5 main worlds. The rest are mining operations, research stations, and small colonies. Military assets? 347 registered vessels, mostly cargo ships and system defense craft. 17 ships classified as military corvettes, 5 destroyers, 1 command vessel that appears to be their flagship. Keth Mori's upper eyes narrowed. That's all? That's all, sir. Their largest vessel is less than half the size of our smallest cruiser. The Admiral walked slowly around the display. The numbers made no sense. 300 ships against the Council's combined fleet of over 10 million. Even if every human vessel was a perfect fighting machine, they would be outnumbered 30,000 to 1. Intelligence assessment? Commander Zilnara activated another display. Images of human cities, ships, and technology filled the air. Analysis suggests their technology is approximately 40 to 60 years behind current galactic standards. Their fusion drives are inefficient. Their weapon systems appear to be simple kinetic projectiles and basic energy weapons. Their defenses? Minimal. Each system has a few orbital platforms, standard particle shields. Nothing that would stop a determined assault. Keth Mori studied the data for several minutes. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't identify what. The humans were acting like they had options, when clearly they had none. Perhaps, suggested the Admiral's strategic coordinator, a brilliant logical union analyst designated Prime 7, the humans are experiencing a form of species-wide mental breakdown. Their behavior does not match their capabilities. Explain, Keth Mori ordered. In our databases, we have examples of civilizations that refuse to surrender when faced with impossible odds. Usually, this occurs when the species suffers from delusions about their own power, or when they cannot understand the mathematics of their situation. The Admiral nodded slowly. That made sense. Humans were young, barely 50 years in galactic society. Perhaps they simply didn't understand how outmatched they were. Recommendation? A show of force, Prime 7 replied immediately. Position the Fifth Armada at the edge of human space. Let them see our strength. Once they understand the reality of their situation, they will surrender without bloodshed. The Fifth Armada? Keth Mori considered this. The Fifth was one of the Council's most powerful fleets, 300 ships, including 12 dreadnoughts, and his own flagship, the Eternal Justice. More than enough to conquer a dozen systems. Yes, sir. Overwhelming superiority will encourage rational thinking. Meanwhile, in a small, private chamber, Ambassador Sarah Chen sat across from the Council's 3 elder representatives. These ancient beings rarely met with anyone directly. Their combined experience spanned over 2,000 years of galactic politics. Elder Thulwes, a massive crystalline creature whose body had grown for 8 centuries, spoke first. His voice resonated through the room like distant thunder. Young human, we do not understand your people's actions. What would you like to understand, Elder? Chen asked politely. Why do you refuse to negotiate? In our long experience, all conflicts can be resolved through discussion and compromise. Chen leaned back in her chair. Elder Thulwes, what would you say if someone demanded that your people abandon their homeworld and submit to foreign rule? But that is not what we are asking, replied Elder Vashtai, a flowing energy being whose form constantly shifted colors. We simply want compliance with galactic law. The law that says we cannot settle on empty planets? The law that requires us to ask permission before defending ourselves? The law that makes us subjects instead of equals? Oh no. The third elder, Mordun, of the ancient collective, had been silent until now. His mechanical body was older than recorded history, a mind that had witnessed the rise and fall of a dozen galactic civilizations. Human Chen, his voice was like grinding metal. In all our years, we have seen this pattern before. Young species often believe they are special. They think they can stand against the natural order. They are always wrong. Sarah Chen met his gaze without flinching. Elder Mordun, in all your years, have you ever encountered a species like ours? All species believe they are unique. That's not what I asked. The silence stretched for a long moment. Finally, Elder Thulwes spoke again. What do you want us to understand, Ambassador? Chen stood up slowly. You are asking us to give up something you don't understand, and you won't understand our refusal until it's too late to matter. She left the 3 elders sitting in confused silence. Back in human space, something strange was happening. Vraxian intelligence ships had been monitoring human communications since the crisis began. They expected to find panic, military mobilization, or desperate calls for help. Instead, they found something their translators couldn't properly interpret. The humans are pleased? Intelligence Chief Kexmara stared at the reports. They're happy about this situation? That's what the linguistic analysis suggests, sir. replied his aide. But it doesn't make sense. The emotional patterns we're detecting suggest satisfaction, anticipation, and something our computers can only translate as grim enjoyment. Show me the communications intercepts, the screens filled with translated human conversations. Citizens discussing the council's ultimatum with what appeared to be dark amusement. Military personnel making jokes about finally getting to show off. Government officials expressing something that came across as relief. "This is wrong," Keksmara muttered. "They should be terrified." The aide nodded. "Sir, there's something else. Our economic surveillance shows something impossible." "What?" "We implemented the trade sanctions yesterday. Cut off all commercial traffic to human systems. Standard procedures says they should be in economic chaos by now. And their shipping patterns changed immediately. New routes activated that we didn't know existed. Supply chains that aren't in any of our databases. Not only are they not suffering from the sanctions, their efficiency seems to have improved." Keksmara stared at the data. None of this made sense. The humans were acting like they had been expecting this situation, like they were prepared for it. What about their military response? That's the strangest part, sir. Their ships aren't mobilizing defensively. They're not retreating to protected positions. They're not even changing their patrol patterns. What are they doing? Going about their normal business, like nothing is happening. Admiral Kethmori received the same reports. The more intelligence flowed in, the more confused he became. Every piece of data suggested that the humans were completely unprepared for war. Yet their behavior suggested the opposite. "Sir," Commander Zilnara approached carefully. "The Fifth Armada is in position. We're at the edge of human space, waiting for orders. Any response from the humans?" "None, sir. No hails, no challenges, no reaction at all. It's like they don't even notice we're here." The Admiral studied the tactical display. His powerful fleet hung in space like a hammer, ready to fall. Below them, human ships continued their regular activities, apparently unconcerned. "Sir," his aide prompted. "Maintain position," Kethmori ordered finally. "Let them think about what they're facing. Sometimes the threat of force is more effective than force itself." But as he watched the human ships going peacefully about their business, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. Something that might change everything. In her quarters aboard the council station, Ambassador Chen received a secure message from her government. She read it twice, then deleted it immediately. The message had contained only 5 words. "Preparations complete. Awaiting your signal." She looked out her window at the vast council complex, with its thousands of ships and millions of beings from across the galaxy, all of them convinced they held the stronger hand. Chen smiled for the first time since the crisis began. The 72-hour deadline expired at exactly 14:30 Galactic Standard Time. In the council chambers, representatives from 200 worlds waited for news. The human ambassador had not changed her answer. No surrender. No negotiations. No compromise. Admiral Kethmori received his orders at 14:31. Implement corrective measures. Impose a blockade. Force compliance. The Fifth Armada moved forward into human space like a wall of metal and death. 300 ships arranged in perfect formation. At the center, the massive dreadnought Eternal Justice led the way, its hull bristling with enough weapons to destroy entire planets. Their target was the Kepler Junction, a critical hyperspace nexus that connected human territories to the rest of the galaxy. Control the junction, and you could cut off all human trade and movement. It was basic military strategy. The Armada emerged from hyperspace in a display of coordinated power that had intimidated 100 species over the centuries. Massive ships appeared in precise formation, their weapons already targeted, their shields at maximum power. Admiral Kethmori stood on his command bridge, looking out at the empty space around them. His 6 eyes scanned the tactical displays. According to intelligence, the humans usually kept a small patrol vessel at the junction. 1 ship against his 300. "Contact," his sensor officer announced. "Single vessel, bearing 2-7 Mark IV, human destroyer class." On the main screen, a small ship appeared. It looked tiny against the backdrop of stars, dwarfed by the Council Armada surrounding it. The human vessel was less than 200 meters long, a simple design that looked almost primitive. "Hail them," the Admiral ordered. The communications officer worked his controls. "Channel open, sir." A human appeared on the screen, a woman wearing a simple blue uniform. She looked young, probably no more than 40 standard years. Her name appeared on the display: Captain Maria Santos. "This is Captain Santos of the UES Defiant," she said calmly. "You are in violation of human territorial space. Withdraw immediately." Admiral Kethmori almost laughed. He looked around at his officers, several of whom were openly amused. One small ship, demanding that 300 vessels retreat. "Captain Santos." The Admiral spoke slowly, as if addressing a child. "I am Supreme Admiral Kethmori of the Galactic Council Fleet. You are surrounded and outgunned. I strongly suggest you stand down and prepare for boarding." The human captain tilted her head slightly. "Admiral, I'll say this once more. You are in violation of our space. Withdraw within the next 60 seconds, or we will consider this an act of war." This time, Kethmori did laugh. His officers joined him. The idea that a single human ship could threaten his entire armada was absurd. "Captain, I have 300 ships. You have one. Do you really want to discuss war?" Maria Santos looked directly into the camera. Her expression was completely serious. "Admiral, you have 300 ships. For now, are you threatening me?" "I'm stating a fact." 55 seconds remaining. Admiral Kethmori's amusement faded. The human captain was either insane or incredibly brave. Either way, she was about to learn the price of defying the Council. "Weapons officer, lock onto the human vessel. Prepare to disable their engines." "Sir, weapons locked and ready." 40 seconds, Captain Santos announced, as if she was counting down to lunch instead of her own destruction. "Captain Santos, this is your final warning. Surrender now, or face the consequences." 20 seconds. The Admiral nodded to his weapons officer. "Fire a warning shot. Show them we mean business." A bright beam of energy lanced out from the Eternal Justice. It passed just ahead of the human ship, close enough that their shields should have detected it. The shot was carefully calculated to demonstrate power without causing damage. The human ship didn't even change course. 10 seconds. Captain Santos continued her countdown. "What is wrong with these people?" muttered Commander Zilnara. "Do they have a death wish?" 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Captain Santos looked directly at Admiral Kethmori. "You were warned." The screen went black as the human ship cut communications. For a moment, nothing happened. The human destroyer continued on its original course, apparently ignoring the massive fleet surrounding it. Admiral Kethmori was about to order another warning shot when his sensor officer spoke up. "Sir, I'm reading some kind of energy buildup from the human ship." "What kind of buildup?" I don't know, sir. The readings don't match anything in our database." On the tactical display, the small human ship began to glow with a strange blue light. The glow grew brighter and brighter until it hurt to look at. "All ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers," Kethmori ordered. He didn't know what the humans were planning, but he wasn't taking chances. "Sir," the sensor officer's voice was confused. "The energy isn't building toward a weapon discharge. It's something else." "What?" "I think they're charging their hyperspace drive. But the power levels are impossible. No ship that size could generate that much energy." The blue glow around the human ship suddenly shifted. What had been bright blue became something deeper, darker. The space around the destroyer began to bend and twist in ways that made Kethmori's eyes hurt to watch. "What in the depths of space is that?" Commander Zilnara whispered. The answer came from the ship's chief scientist. "A brilliant logical union construct, designated Science Prime Alpha." "Admiral, those readings, they're not possible." "They won. They're being science." "They won, Saul. Explain." "The human ship appears to be manipulating space-time itself. The energy requirements for such manipulation would require the output of a star." "That's impossible." "Yes, sir. It should be." The space around the human destroyer was now completely black. as if reality itself was being bent inward. Admiral Kethmori had never seen anything like it. Neither had anyone else on his bridge. "All ships, open fire," he ordered. "Destroy that vessel now." 300 ships fired at once. Energy beams, kinetic projectiles, and quantum torpedoes filled the space where the human destroyer had been. The combined firepower was enough to crack a moon. When the light faded, the human ship was still there, completely undamaged. "Impossible," breathed Science Prime Alpha. "Our weapons passed right through them." "Through them?" "Sir, I believe the human vessel is no longer in normal space-time. They've somehow moved into a dimensional pocket while remaining visible to us." Admiral Kethmori stared at the tactical display. His entire armada had just fired everything they had at one small ship, and accomplished nothing. "Sir," his communications officer called out urgently, "we're receiving a transmission from the human ship." "Put it through." Captain Santos appeared on screen again. She looked exactly the same as before, except now she was smiling. "Admiral Kethmori, you have had your demonstration. Now you will have ours." The black space around the human destroyer suddenly expanded. What had been a small bubble around one ship grew larger and larger, reaching out like dark fingers toward the Council fleet. "Evasive maneuvers," Kethmori shouted. "All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance." But the darkness moved faster than his ships could run. In seconds, it had engulfed half the armada. The ships touched by the black space simply stopped. Not destroyed, not damaged. They just ceased to exist on the tactical display. "Where did they go?" "Commander," Zilnara's voice was almost a whisper. "Unknown, sir," replied the sensor officer. "They're not there anymore. No debris, no energy signatures, no life signs. They're just gone." The darkness continued to spread. Ship after ship vanished without a trace. Admiral Kethmori watched his carefully organized fleet disappear like smoke in the wind. "Full retreat," he ordered. "All remaining ships, emergency jump to hyperspace, now." But the darkness was faster. It reached out and touched the eternal justice itself. Admiral Kethmori felt a strange tingling sensation. And then, silence. Perfect, complete silence. When the effect ended 17 minutes later, space around the Kepler junction was empty except for one small human destroyer. 300 council ships, millions of crew members, and the pride of the Galactic fleet had simply ceased to exist. Captain Santos opened communications to all council frequencies. Her message was broadcast across the galaxy, heard by every government, every military command, every citizen with a receiver. "This is Captain Santos of the UES Defiant. The Council fleet that violated our territorial space has been removed. This is your only warning. Withdraw all forces from human territory within 24 hours, or we will consider it an act of war." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. Captain Santos looked directly into the camera for her final statement. "We told you we had nothing to negotiate." In the council chambers, 200 species sat in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. A single human ship had destroyed the Fifth Armada, without taking any damage. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood up from her seat. For the first time since the crisis began, she walked down to the central podium. Every being in the chamber watched her in complete silence. "Honorable representatives," she said calmly, "perhaps now we can discuss the real situation." Elder Thulwes's crystalline form flickered with confused colors. "What are you?" Sarah Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "We are exactly what we have always told you we are. We are human. The question you should be asking is, what did you think we were?" The chamber remained silent. For the first time in galactic history, no one had an answer. The emergency sessions had been running for 6 straight days. Representatives from across the galaxy demanded answers, explanations, and most of all, reassurance that their worlds were safe. The destruction of the Fifth Armada had sent shockwaves through every civilization in Council space. Dr. Veltar, the Council's chief historical researcher, stood before a room full of panicked officials. Her tentacles moved frantically over multiple data displays as she presented her findings. "We've been reviewing everything," she announced. "Every interaction. every trade deal, every technological advance of the past 50 years. What we've found. She paused, her purple skin shifting to a pale gray. What we've found changes everything. Elder Thul Weiss leaned forward. His massive crystalline body caught the light from the displays. Show us. The central hologram shifted to show galactic trade records. Streams of data flowed like rivers between star systems. Look at this carefully, Dr. Veltar said. These are the economic patterns since humans joined the galactic community. Notice anything strange? Counselor Vex from the Korthak Empire studied the data. The numbers are too stable. Economic systems should have more variation, more chaos. Exactly. For 50 years, our economy has been impossibly smooth. No major crashes, no supply chain failures, no resource shortages. We assumed this was natural market evolution. It wasn't? Asked High Analyst Queth. No. Watch this. The display changed to show a different view of the same data. These are the micro-corrections, tiny adjustments in shipping routes, subtle changes in resource allocation, small investments that prevented larger problems. The room fell silent as the pattern became clear. Every correction, every adjustment, every stabilizing influence came from the same source. The humans, Elder Vashtai whispered. They've been managing our economy. Not just managing, Dr. Veltar replied. Protecting it, guiding it, keeping it stable when it should have collapsed dozens of times. Commander Rixtel of the peacekeeping force raised one of his armored hands. This could be coincidence. Smart investing, good business sense. Dr. Veltar touched her controls again. Let me show you the scientific records. HFY says, the display filled with research papers, technological patents, and breakthrough discoveries. Names and dates scrolled past in a blur. Dr. Zeph Nakamura. Breakthrough in quantum field theory. Dr. Sarah Kim. Gravitational wave manipulation. Dr. Ahmed Hassan. Dimensional mathematics. The list goes on. In the past 50 years, hundreds of revolutionary discoveries have been published by human researchers. So? Rixtel shrugged. Humans are smart. We knew this. These aren't just smart humans, Dr. Veltar explained. Watch the publication dates. The timeline adjusted. Scientific breakthroughs appeared as bright flashes across the decades. But now, other events were visible too. Wars, disasters, technological crises faced by various species. See the pattern? Every time a civilization faced a major scientific or technological crisis, a human researcher would publish exactly the breakthrough needed to solve it. Always under different names, always through different institutions, always just in time. The room erupted in confused voices. Dr. Veltar waited for quiet before continuing. The Zephyrian plague 23 years ago. It was killing their entire species. The cure came from research published by Dr. Elena Rodriguez of Earth University, except, she touched the display, no such person ever attended Earth University. No such university has ever existed on Earth. Gasps and clicks of shock filled the chamber. The asteroid that threatened the Vraxian homeworld 15 years ago. The gravitational deflection technology came from papers published by Dr. James Chen, another fictional identity. The Korthak Civil War that nearly destroyed their civilization. It ended when someone leaked perfect intelligence about the rebel supply lines. The leak was traced to a human trading company that didn't exist. Dr. Veltar let the implications sink in. For 50 years, humans have been secretly solving our problems, preventing our disasters, and guiding our development, all while pretending to be the junior members of galactic society. Elder Mordoon's ancient mechanical form creaked as he leaned forward. Why? I believe, said a new voice. That question should be directed to me. Every head turned. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the entrance to the chamber. But she was no longer alone. Behind her stood a dozen other humans in simple black uniforms. They moved with quiet confidence, scanning the room with alert eyes. Ambassador Chen, Elder Thulwes rumbled, we demand an explanation. Sarah Chen walked slowly to the center platform. Her escort took positions around the room's perimeter. For the first time, the alien representatives noticed that these humans carried weapons that looked like nothing in the council databases. Honorable elders, fellow representatives, Chen began. Dr. Veltar's research is correct, but incomplete. You want to know why we've been protecting you? The answer is simple. Someone had to. She gestured to the displays around the room. 50 years ago, when we first made contact with galactic civilization, we conducted a comprehensive analysis. Do you know what we found? Comprehend. Silence. We found that galactic civilization was dying. Not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily falling apart. Your governments were paralyzed by committee. Your military forces were spread too thin across too many minor conflicts. Your economies were held together by tradition rather than logic. Councillor Vex stood up angrily. That's not true. The council has maintained peace for centuries. Yes, Chen agreed. You've maintained the appearance of peace, while ignoring the growing problems underneath. The resource shortages you didn't see coming. The technological barriers you couldn't overcome. The external threats you never detected. External threats? Elder Vashti's energy form flickered rapidly. Chen nodded to one of her escorts. The human activated a device on his wrist. The chamber's displays shifted to show a map of the galaxy, but from an angle none of them had seen before. This is the view from outside our galaxy, Chen explained. 3 neighboring galaxies have gone completely dark in the past 1,000 years. No communications, no energy signatures, no signs of life. The map zoomed in on the edges of their galaxy. Strange, dark shapes were visible in the void between galaxies. Something is consuming entire galactic civilizations. It moves slowly, but it's systematic, complete, and it's heading toward us. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Chen waited for quiet before continuing. We've been tracking this threat since before we made contact with you. Our expansion into the outer rim wasn't conquest. It was preparation. We've been building defensive systems, early warning networks, and evacuation routes. Why didn't you tell us? Demanded High Analyst Queth. Because you would have done exactly what you're doing now, Chen replied. Panic. Form committees. Debate. Argue about jurisdiction and procedure while the threat got closer. Elder Mordoon's ancient voice creaked through the chamber. So you decided to protect us without our knowledge or consent? Yes, that's... Councillor Vex struggled for words. That's arrogant beyond measure. Sarah Chen's expression didn't change. Yes, it is. It's also necessary. She walked slowly around the platform, making eye contact with representatives throughout the chamber. For 50 years, we've guided your economic development to build the industrial capacity you'll need. We've solved your technological problems to advance your defensive capabilities. We've prevented wars and disasters that would have weakened you, all while pretending to be your junior partners. You manipulated us, accused Elder Thulwis. We protected you, Chen corrected. There's a difference. And now? Elder Vashti asked. What happens now that your secret is revealed? Chen stopped walking and faced the assembled representatives. Now you have a choice. You can continue to be protected, but you need to accept the reality of your situation, which is, humanity isn't your equal partner in galactic civilization. We aren't your junior members learning from your wisdom. We are your protectors, your guardians, and if necessary, your rulers. The silence that followed was deafening. Prime Citizen Holrek of the Trade Federation finally found his voice. You're demanding that we surrender our independence. Prime Citizen Holrek. I'm offering to formalize an arrangement that has existed for 50 years, Chen replied. The only difference is that now you know about it. And if we refuse? Chen's expression grew cold. Then you'll face the approaching threat without our protection. Your choice. She turned toward the exit. You have 48 hours to decide. During that time, I suggest you review Dr. Veltar's research more carefully. You'll find that everything we've done has been for your benefit. As the humans left the chamber, Elder Mordoon's ancient voice echoed in the silence. In 2 million years of existence, I have never encountered a species like this. What do you mean? Asked Elder Thulwis. They have the power to rule us, but they don't want to. They have the ability to abandon us, but they won't. They are strong enough to stand alone, but they choose to protect the weak. The old machine paused, processing thoughts older than most civilizations. I believe, he said finally, we are about to learn what it means to be truly fortunate. The vote was scheduled for exactly 48 hours after Ambassador Chen's revelation. Representatives from 200 worlds gathered in the council chambers. But the atmosphere was completely different now. Gone was the confident superiority that had marked galactic politics for centuries. In its place was uncertainty, fear, and for many, a grudging respect for the humans who had been protecting them in secret. Elder Thulwes called the session to order. His crystalline form had shifted from its usual bright blue to a more subdued purple, reflecting his troubled thoughts. We are here to vote on the human proposal, he announced. Formal recognition of humanity's protective role in galactic civilization, with corresponding authority to make decisions regarding galactic security. Before we vote, interrupted Counselor Vex, I want answers. The Korthak warrior stood at his full, intimidating height. Dr. Veltar has shown us 50 years of human intervention. But I want to know about my people specifically. Our civil war ended very suddenly, very conveniently. What did the humans do? Dr. Veltar activated her displays. The Korthak civil war was caused by resource disputes in your outer colonies. The rebels controlled the mining operations that funded their army. The war was stalemated because both sides had equal access to materials. Yes, I remember. Then suddenly our intelligence service discovered the rebel supply routes. Not your intelligence service, Dr. Veltar corrected gently. A human cargo ship happened to have engine trouble near a rebel convoy. While making repairs, they accidentally transmitted unencrypted location data on the rebel fleet movements. Counselor Vex's scarred face darkened. Accidentally? The ship was the merchant vessel Lucky Break, registered to Chen Trading Company. Except, Chen Trading Company never existed. The ship was a human intelligence vessel, conducting a surveillance operation that lasted 6 months. They ended our civil war by helping us win. They ended your civil war by ensuring the side most likely to maintain stability would have the advantage. Your faction represented lawful government. The rebels represented chaos. Vex sat down heavily. They chose our government's survival over the rebels' cause. They chose galactic stability over local politics. Similar stories emerged as the session continued. The Zephyrian plague had been cured by medicine, developed years before the disease appeared. Ready and waiting for deployment. The Vraxian asteroid had been deflected by technology that should have taken decades to develop, but somehow appeared exactly when needed. Every time, Dr. Veltar summarized, humans provided exactly the right solution at exactly the right moment. Too perfect to be coincidence. Too beneficial to be manipulation for selfish gain. Prime Citizen Holrek raised a concern that many shared. What about our sovereignty? Our right to self-determination? Sarah Chen, who had remained silent during the discussions, finally stood. You've had 50 years of self-determination under our protection. How has that worked out for you? We've prospered, Holrek admitted. Your people are healthier, safer, and more prosperous than at any time in your history. Your technology has advanced faster in 50 years than in the previous 500. Your conflicts have been minimal and quickly resolved. Is this the sovereignty you're afraid to lose? The question hung in the air. Many representatives looked uncomfortable, but none could argue with the results. The vote will proceed, Elder Thulwes announced. All in favor of accepting the human proposal? Hands, tentacles, energy signatures, and mechanical appendages rose throughout the chamber. The count was overwhelming. 173 in favor. Opposed? 27 representatives raised their opposition. Most notably absent was the Vraxian hegemony delegation. Where are the Vraxians? Asked Elder Vashtai. Dr. Veltar checked her displays. Ambassador Zex Thera and his delegation left the station this morning. They returned to their homeworld without explanation. Sarah Chen's expression hardened. I see. The formal signing ceremony took place 6 hours later. A new galactic charter was drafted, recognizing humanity as the official protectorate of galactic civilization. The Council would continue to handle daily governance, but major security decisions would require human approval. Most species signed immediately. A few requested time to consult their home governments. The Vraxians did not respond to any communications. 3 days after the signing, the answer came in the form of a massive military movement. The Vraxian hegemony activated their entire fleet. Over 2,000 ships, including their proud battle stations and planet-killer dreadnoughts. The force represented the largest military buildup in galactic history. Their destination was clear: Earth itself. Admiral Zex Kalla, Supreme Commander of Vraxian forces, broadcast his message across all frequencies. The Vraxian hegemony does not bow to anyone. We will demonstrate that human power is an illusion. The natural order will be restored. The human response came from an unexpected source, not from Earth, not from their military command, but from Ambassador Chen standing in the council chambers. Admiral Zex Kalla, she said simply, you are making a mistake. The only mistake, the Vraxian admiral replied, was allowing your deception to continue for so long. We are coming to end it. End. Very well. Chen touched a control on her wrist. Instantly, every display in the galaxy capable of receiving broadcasts activated. Every screen, every hologram, every communication device showed the same view. Space around the Vraxian fleet. The massive armada hung in the void between galaxies, thousands of ships arranged in perfect battle formation. It was an impressive sight, representing the accumulated military might of one of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful civilizations. Then the stars changed. What had appeared to be empty space around the Vraxian fleet began to shimmer. The starlight bent and twisted, and suddenly ships appeared. Not hundreds, not thousands, millions. Human vessels materialized from invisibility, surrounding the Vraxian armada like an ocean around a small island. Ships of sizes and designs that defied understanding. Some were sleek and small, others massive beyond comprehension. All bore the simple blue and white markings of human space. Admiral Zex Kalla's voice came over the communication channel, much quieter now. This is impossible. Our sensors detected nothing. Your sensors detected what we wanted them to detect, Chen replied. For 50 years, our ships have been stationed throughout galactic space. Watching, protecting, waiting. The display zoomed in on some of the human vessels. The technology was clearly far beyond anything the Council had ever seen. Smooth, organic-looking hulls that seemed to bend light around them. Weapons that appeared to be made of controlled energy rather than metal. How many ships? Zex Kalla whispered. Enough, Chen answered. Admiral, you have 1 minute to stand down and return to Vraxian space. This is your only warning. We came to conquer Earth. Earth is not defenseless, Admiral. Earth is the center of the largest defensive network in galactic history. Every system, every planet, every inhabited world in our galaxy is protected by human forces you never knew existed. The minute passed in silence. When it ended, Admiral Zex Kalla gave the only order he could. All ships, return to base. Mission terminated. As the Vraxian fleet retreated, the human vessels began to fade from view once more. Within minutes, space appeared empty again, with only the stars as witnesses to what had been revealed. But the message was clear. Humanity didn't just protect galactic civilization, they were galactic civilization's shield against anything that threatened it. Ambassador Chen returned to the podium in the council chambers. The representatives who had witnessed the demonstration sat in stunned silence. Now you know the truth, she said. We never wanted to rule you. We wanted to protect you. But if ruling you is what's required to protect you from yourselves and the universe beyond, then that is what we will do. Elder Mordoon's ancient voice creaked through the chamber. The approaching threat you mentioned. How close is it? Chen's expression grew serious. Close enough that we're out of time for subtlety. The defensive network is complete, but it will require total galactic cooperation to implement. No more committees, no more debates, no more political maneuvering. What do you need from us? Trust, Chen said simply. Trust that we know what we're doing. Trust that our decisions are for everyone's benefit. Trust that when the time comes, we will protect you as we always have. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of different species. The age of galactic democracy is over, she announced. The age of human protection has begun. We promise you this. Under our watch, no civilization will fall. No species will perish. No world will be abandoned to darkness. Outside the station, invisible human ships maintained their eternal vigil, watching for threats from beyond the stars. The galaxy continued to turn, its billions of inhabitants going about their daily lives. Most never knowing how close disaster had come. But in the council chambers, 200 species formally accepted what had been true for 50 years. They were under human protection, and they were safe. The approaching darkness would find a galaxy ready for it. Not because the galaxy was strong, but because humanity stood guard. And humans, as the universe was about to learn, did not abandon those they had chosen to protect. The real war was still coming. But for the first time in their history, galactic civilization would face it united under a single banner, guided by a species that had proven their dedication through 5 decades of quiet service. The age of human guardianship had begun.